Hello, everybody, and welcome to the July edition of the EPALE Newscast. We've just celebrated Midsummer and now we're already heading into the second half of the year. How time has flown. We're going to start now with news from the EU. And first of all, congratulations to Erasmus Plus. The most famous EU program blew out 37 candles this month. And we know that Erasmus Plus is so much more than mobility for university students. But are you really aware of all the possibilities that it offers? A hard to believe figure is that just since 2014, that's the last 10 years, the number of participants in learning mobility has doubled. You can find out more about that and other figures on the official website that are celebrating the 37 years. And as part of those celebrations, and to really acknowledge the life-changing experience that is Erasmus Plus, the European Commission has a new podcast series called Erasmus Plus Revealed. And that will tell you everything you need to know about the program, but through real-life stories of people who are involved. And a little spoiler alert, the first episode features Pierre Achenkilde-Hensen, who is the Director General for the European Commission's Department for Education, Youth, Sport and Culture. Now, let's look at the EPALE community. Now, we know that you like our EPALE resource kits, and the latest one is on the European Year of Skills that's just come to a close. The year put the topic of learning center stage and provided some much needed visibility and profile for this topic. And of course, the EPALE community took full advantage of this opportunity with a flurry of new activities and initiatives. So if you want to revisit how EPALE mobilized throughout the European Year of Skills, you can check out the special EPALE resource kit. Now, recently, we also published a brand new podcast on adult learning mobility, How and Why. That's a nice chat on the evolution of learning mobility for adults and how the current Erasmus Plus programs make it easier for adults to access learning mobility. But have you ever wondered why so few adults actually participate in learning? Even though we know the numbers have doubled, there's clearly a long way to go. And there are some great insights in an article by the economist Döge Gunnar in the ELM magazine, and we're sharing the link to you. She urges us to look beyond the obvious barriers of lack of time and money and to address the more invisible psychosocial or institutional barriers that are stopping people from getting involved in learning. You can find the link here and it would make a great addition to your summer reading lists. Now, we know that EPALE is a huge European community, and we also know that you're involved in an amazing range of activities, and we only get to see a tiny part of what's actually happening at national level. So today, we thought we'd have a chat with two of our German-speaking communities. So we have Marlene Röder from the German Support Service and Eva Baloch-Kaloianov from the Austrian Support Service. Welcome to both of you, and we'd love to find out a little bit more about what's happening in your networks. Now, the title of today's newscast is Democracy Fitness, and we tend to think of our brains being separate from our physical bodies, but emerging science tells us that there is a direct link between moving our bodies and our mental state. We know that being physically activity can reduce your depression, it can reduce anxiety and improve your sleep patterns. But what about our cognitive abilities? How are they affected by how physically active we are? Marlene, you've just held a really exciting EPALE Academy event with TK Kressig, which helps people discover why lessons on the move lead to better learning outcomes and promotes creativity. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. It was a really humorous and active workshop for all participants. In the introduction of the workshop, TK said that even the ancient Greeks learned while walking and not sitting on benches. So following this motto, he gave a lot of tips for integrating movement-based learning into everyday life. And he gave us memory techniques that utilize the body. So it was also really quite interesting that he also showed us how to use active breaks to enhance the motivation of the participants. It was a really quite funny and activating workshop.
Thanks, Marlene. It sounded like a really great event and so exciting to have this sort of principle that, learning happens in a static space where you've got students sitting down and a teacher at the front and actually helping to understand it could be a whole body experience. So thanks, that sounded really great. Now, in this framework of the EPALE Academies, you have a few more coming up later this year with some new themes. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about what people can look forward to in their calendars.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. We are planning some more activities. There will be an academy the 15th of October. It will be about democracy education and adult education. And in this workshop, we want to work out together how we can teach democratic values, such as tolerance, solidarity, pluralism, and representation of interest in all courses, and not only courses of political education. And in this workshop, we want to find out what contribution each course can make to democratic participation. And there also will be another academy about sustainable organizational development starting the 7th of November. So everybody's invited. The EPALE Academy is a good opportunity to delve into current topics and to learn more about different important topics in adult education.
Thank you. They sound like they're going to be really exciting, different workshops, and people can sign up there. If they watch your website, they'll find more information and there'll be an opportunity to participate. So, Eva, let me bring you in now, because we've just heard from Marlene more about this idea of building in democracy. So what in your area are the efforts being made to foster adult civic participation?
Yeah, Tamsin, let me tell you, this year we are focusing on civic education. If you look at the European bumper election, parliamentary elections, but also national ones, in several countries, we thought it was a good time to come up with a conference on participation, where participation is in the focus. Because citizens, they have the opportunity to actively participate in shaping the future of the entire continent. And that's where adult education comes in. And in our conference in May 22, on 22nd of May in Vienna, we had more than 70 adult educators from Austria discussing and experimenting with methods how to teach democratic values, how to teach participatory skills, and how to work with groups. So even fitness was a topic. We had a workshop on democracy fitness held by Swiss expert Mark Steinemann, who also held a keynote. So feel free to check out the conference look back and see all the important texts that were produced and use them and work with them.
Thank you. And as you say, this is the big year of elections around the world, but our world has never been more divided and polarized, and that makes fertile ground for populism. Now, one initiative that's called We Europeans is creating spaces to bring people together to talk about the really challenging issues, but in doing so, to find out what unites them and how their values are shared. Eva, I'm really intrigued by this initiative, and particularly you've got the fact or fake section of the website to help people understand and sort out disinformation. And you've also got a MOOC. Can you tell us more about those?
Sure. Yeah, we were very honored to have the maker of the We Europeans project. It's an Erasmus Plus project here at our conference. She was recommended to us by our German colleagues. Thank you for that, Marlene. Sabine was her name, Rurik Mahu. She worked with us, and I really recommend to check out the tools at the website of We Europeans. But since we met face-to-face in the workshop, one of the methods is to think about situations where you encounter populism and then decide, does it make sense to jump in to make a statement, or is it not advisable? Yeah, and the fact is, if you have a situation, be it in your workplace or at home, among friends, where you have people that are still undecided, not completely stuck to one opinion. That's the chance to jump in, bring in an alternative view, but stay calm at the same time, and just bring in some facts. Also ask questions. If you hear like very populist, one-dimensional views, don't be afraid to ask further. Bring people to think about it. So that's one of the methods. And of course, in the MOOC, you will learn more about it.
Great, thank you very much. And I love that you are going to give people skills to think, when's a safe moment, when's a good moment to try and address issues. You've got someone who's speaking about disinformation and also some toolkits to be able to do that. That's fantastic. Thank you. Now, another big area that people are thinking about is artificial intelligence, because it's driving a revolution in the workforce. And just 2 years ago, ChatGPT was released, and that's made AI tools accessible to everyone, not just computer experts or geeks. And now there are millions of people who use AI in their everyday work or lives. But what's the best way to introduce AI skills within an adult learning context, helping people to understand both the opportunities, but also the ethical frameworks and the risks? And there was a great article on your website about this, Eva. Can you tell us something more about that?
Of course. I agree. AI is definitely here to stay. And in the adult education sector, at least in Austria, we are at an experimental stage. So this article is really bringing us to think, how are we ourselves as adult educators experimenting with AI, and how are we teaching AI skills? And in that article by Karin Lambrecht from ConEdu, several very important tips and thought-provoking tips are given, how to start a conversation, for instance, in a group where people have different skill sets. Some might be beginners, they're skeptical, some have been experimenting, and these tips are gathered from various sources, one of them being Nele Hirsch, E-Bildungslabor in Germany. And you will find all these resources in that article, so it's worth reading it. I really recommend it. And yes, I just would like to mention that Karin Lambrecht works for ConEdu, and they are very much on the forefront of teaching AI skills. So perhaps we can also link to a webinar series that they are currently conducting. It's for free. It's in German. It's called Unboxing AI for Adult Education. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you, Marlene and Eva, for joining us today. I mean, you really demonstrated the range of great things that are happening at national level and all the opportunities to learn and find out more. And again, you're helping us to broaden our ideas and our understanding of what adult learning is and how it touches all aspects of people's lives, of their contribution and participation in society. So I'm really glad you both joined us today just to tell us a little bit about what you're doing. And I'm sure in future newscasts we'll hear from other national NSSs. So I'd like to close our newscast now just by reminding you that the deadline is fast approaching to submit something for the Community Stories Initiative. So don't miss out on being part of the EPALE Community Storybook that will be published later this year. And of course, that is an official publication of the EU, so it will be widely disseminated. So here's your 15 minutes of fame. Make sure you submit your story. So thank you for joining us, and see you in September, and may the sun shine on you over the summer months wherever you are. Thank you. See you next time.